The guards started rampaging through all the rooms in search of the staff of authority until they entered Ogechi's room. They threw her bag on the floor, emptied everything that was inside the bag, and the staff of authority was there, lying on the floor, and everyone's eyes widened immediately in shock. Ah, I did not steal the staff of authority, you. I will never do that, my king. Ogechi immediately went on her knees, crying and begging. Shut up your dirty smelly mouth there, the queen ordered, and Ogechi cried while sitting on the ground. How was she going to vindicate herself? How was she going to prove her innocence? Everything was moving from frying pan to fire instead of getting better. Ogechi held the king on his leg, crying her eyes out. My king, I swear I did not do it. Believe me. Can you hear yourself? I should believe someone who killed my son? Tell me you are not capable of doing this. You didn't do this. Are you expecting me to believe that? Then tell me what the staff of authority was looking for in your bag. You must be stupid, the king said angrily. My king, I don't know. I don't know how that entered my bag. I really have no idea. Believe me, my king, Ogechi cried. Guards, the king called on the guards, and they immediately appeared with their knives on the ground and bowed with a bow. Take her out of this place and lock her up in the cell, he ordered. And the guards immediately did as they were told and forcefully dragged Ogechi up from where she was on the ground. She kept on crying as she was taken away. My king, I swear I did not do it. I did not do it. News already spread around the village like a wildfire about Ogechi stealing the staff of authority. She was literally on the lips of every villager of Ugumadi. She was cursed, gossiped, and literally mocked at. While locked up in the small cell, Ogechi was starved daily. She was neither given water nor food to eat. Princess Melody would always sneak to where she was locked up with a tray of food in her hand. Ogechi would thank her and devour the food so hungrily like a lion. Don't worry, dear. I know you are innocent, okay? I know that you did not steal the staff of authority. I believe you, she will always tell her. And Ogechi will feel like at least she had one person to lean on in this world, even when every other person refused to believe her and abandoned her. She felt so indebted until one day, Princess Melody was on her way as usual, sneakingly going to meet Ogechi in the cell with a tray of food in her hand when she saw Ogechi's body lying down unconsciously on the cold floor of the cell. At first, she thought she was literally sleeping, but when she shook her several times and she never responded, Princess Melody immediately started screaming for help. Somebody help me, oh, she has fainted, oh, she screamed, and immediately all the guards rushed in and lifted Ogechi up from the ground and rushed her into the main palace. Immediately, the royal doctor was summoned, and after performing all the necessary tests on her body, he returned to the awaited people, standing before him and broke the news. She's 2 weeks pregnant, he said, and they all opened their mouth in shock. The queen talked to Ogechi, who was just waking up, and landed her a very hot slap on her cheek. Who got you pregnant? She furiously asked. Ah, my queen, it's obviously Odinaka's baby. I have never been with any other man, except for Prince Odinaka, Ogechi replied in tears. And you expect us to believe that? You must be a joker, Princess Mirabel said. You better say the truth now. Who got you pregnant? Prince Chibuzo asked her. My friend, will you open your mouth and say something? Is it until I? The queen said, advancing towards her and trying to hit her. The king immediately butted in. Hey, that's okay, all of you, he ordered, and they all stopped their actions. In as much as I wouldn't want this to be my son's, Odinaka's baby, we do not have any proof here. This could be Odinaka's child, and this may still not be Odinaka's child. So until the child is born, we will get to know about this. But for now, she will be released from the cell and be brought back to the main palace, and she will continue working as a maid. The future heir of Umugadi kingdom could be inside her. Let's not do anything irrational, the king said, and he walked out. The queen, Prince Chibuzo, and Princess Mirabel all looked at her angrily, and they walked out. After they left, Princess Melody calmly walked down to where Ogechi was lying down and patted her on the shoulder. Do not worry, everything is going to be fine, okay? I know you are not lying. It is obviously my brother's child. I mean, you don't look like that kind of person who will just go around sleeping with different men, she said, and Ogechi immediately busted out crying so hard. Thank you so much, my princess. Thank you for believing me. Thank you, she cried, and Princess Melody immediately drew her for a hug, patting her on the back. Princess Melody slowly walked back to her room. When she entered the room, she closed the door and looked at herself in the mirror. A call came into her phone and she immediately picked up the call and smiled. It took you this long to call me, she said. You did really well. Well done, she told the person on the other end. No, my princess. I wasn't the one that poisoned the prince. That day, when I went to go out to poison the food after she had left, my skirt got hooked with a door handle, so much that I tried getting it off. Few minutes later, when I finally arrived at the scene, that was when the prince was vomiting blood. The person on the other line explained, wait, you mean you were not the one that poisoned the prince? Then who did? Who wanted the prince dead as well? She asked, and all possible ideas ran into her head, but none were really seeming possible. She sat down looking very confused than ever. Ogechi was back in the main palace and finally resumed her work as a maid. The king only had mercy on her by allowing her stay in the palace and work as a maid because of her yet to be predicted pregnancy. Unfortunately, that day was one of the days to clean Prince Chibuzo's room. First of all, she made a prayer to the gods of the land before knocking slowly on the door. When she heard her coming, she opened the door and walked into the cozy, large, king-size room. She saw Prince Chibuzo. He was sitting down in his bed shirtless. He immediately let out a grin after he saw her walk in. Ogechi only frowned her face and started doing her job without even greeting him. Prince Chibuzo kept on smiling and licking his lips while staring at her as she cleaned the room. Suddenly, he stood up and walked over to where she was. He ran his hand through her bald-shaved hair, down to her shoulder, with a silly grin on his face. Nwanyoma, why do you look so cute and very pretty today? He asked, and Ogechi turned to look at him in anger. My prince, please stop whatever you are trying to do right now. It's an abomination. I am your late brother's wife, and I am even carrying his child, for crying out loud. She snapped at him, and he angrily and violently pushed her to the bed. Who do you think you are to snap at me that way? So what if you are my late brother's wife? What if you are carrying his child? I desire you. That's all that matters. I like you, he said, and started climbing the bed while Ogechi fearfully shifted backward on the bed. Please don't do this, my prince. Please, I beg of you, Ogechi cried. But Prince Chibuzo violently dragged her legs to himself and started pounding on her sexually. While this was going on, the door opened and the queen appeared. Prince Chibuzo jumped up and started yelling at Ogechi. Get out of my room. You came here to seduce me. You tried to rape me. Ah, Ogechi, I never knew you were like this. And I warned my brother. I warned him, but he was so bent on marrying because of love. Now look at it. Try to seduce the prince of Umugadi kingdom, he said. And Ogechi's mouth flew open in shock. What? She said. The queen walked into the room. I knew it. So this is the kind of person that you are, really. You killed my son Odinaka. You stole the staff of authority. And now you try to rape my other son? Aru, she exclaimed in awe. Ogechi began to cry and beg. Oh, my queen, don't believe him, please. He's lying. I will never do something like that. I did not try to rape the prince. Why would I even do something like that? Why would a woman want to rape a man? He's the one who was trying to. The queen immediately cut her short by landing a very hot slap on her cheek. How dare you try to accuse the prince of Omugadi kingdom for such a big crime? Of course, everything is possible with you. You can do and undo. You are a very big liar, and you are going to face the punishment for everything you have done. She thundered and walked out while Ogechi continued to cry on the floor. Prince Chibuzo let out a wicked smile and walked away. In Princess Mirabel's room, she's panting up and down in the room. You mean you were not the one that poisoned the prince's food? Then who did? She asked. The person on the other line who she was talking to on the phone. Wait, I am not the only one that wanted the prince dead. Then who else? She said confusingly. But my princess, why do you want the prince to die so much? The person asked, and Princess Mirabel's face immediately changed to anger. Because I do not like him. The day I confronted him and told him not to marry Ogechi, he slapped me and went ahead to marry her, she said, releasing a very angry face. But Prince Odinaka was your blood brother. At least, you should have thought of some other way to deal with him, other than killing him, the person said, and the princess laughed out loud and shook her head, releasing a smile. You know what? Your job is just to follow instructions. And do not interrogate me, she said angrily and hung up the phone. Then sipped through her glass of wine while looking into the mirror with a smile. Princess Melody was sitting in her room when a call came into her phone. Hello, my princess, the person said, grinning from the other end of the phone. What is it? I do not have another job for you. When I do, I will let you know, she said, and was about to hang up when the person immediately spoke up. My princess now. There is hunger everywhere. Oh. Please do something for your girl now, the person said, and Princess Mirabel rolled her eyes. I will send something into your account. Don't disturb me again, she said and hung up. Another call came into her phone. Baby girl, my princess, how are you doing? The person asked, and Princess Melody immediately smiled. Sure, your baby girl is cool. With everything like this girl here is fine. I've got everything under control, she said, smiling and laughing. I believe you, babe. But wait, there is something you've actually not told me yet. Why do you hate the prince so much that you wanted killing him so bad? I mean, he's your brother, right? The person said, and Princess Melody's face immediately changed to anger. I've always hated Odinaka, right from little. The fact that he was the crown prince got me really mad. I mean, why can't a woman as well become a king? This stupid tradition stuff just gets me so annoyed and angry. Must men only become king? Women too can also become king. That's why I plotted to kill him. But unfortunately enough, someone else did the job for me. And I am so glad about that. Then that idiot called his wife that dirty pig. I actually tried to shift the blame on her. I stole the staff of authority and put it in her bag so people will have enough reason to blame her for Odinaka's death. But it seems Odinaka's death was not even my fault to even begin with, she said, and the person laughed. Wow, smarty. But have you ever tried to look for or wonder who killed the crown prince? Well, I was kind of confused and curious at first, but I don't care any longer. I mean, as long as Odinaka is gone, I do not have any problem at all. The next person I'm going to eliminate is Prince Chibuzo. I don't just want to see men being king. I want to become a king as well, she said. But you know, that sounds impossible, my princess. Oh, please shut the hell up. If you don't know what to say, I will become the king. I must, she said, and angrily hung up the phone. She screamed and scattered everything in the room on the floor and screamed out in rage. Few minutes later, when she finally calmed down, she opened the door of her room and walked out calmly. When she reached the parlor, she saw Ogechi crying on the floor. She rolled her eyes and started walking towards her. When she reached where she was, she immediately released a calm and gentle smile. "It's okay, dear. Stop crying. I believe you. I know that you are innocent of whatever they are accusing you of. Everything is going to be fine. Don't worry, okay?" She calmly said, and when Ogechi saw her, she immediately bursted into another round of cry. "Princess Melody," she cried, and Princess Melody immediately pulled her up for a hug, patting her on the back and soothing her to stop crying. The king called a meeting with the elders of Ugumadi. After he had heard of the abominable act Ogechi is said to have committed. Ogechi was in the middle on the ground, while the elders and the kings were sitting down on their golden sofas and royal cushions. "My people, I called you all today because another abominable act has been committed by this woman sitting before us here," the king said, pointing at Ogechi, who was crying on the floor. "This woman here did not only kill my son, the crown prince of Ugumadi kingdom. She did not only steal the staff of authority, but also tried to seduce and rape my second son, the prince of Ugumadi, Prince Chibuzo, on his bed." The king landed and all the elders began to spit out and shout in awe, "Aru, Aru, Tufiakwa. Ah, my king, I did not do it. I will never do it. Prince Chibuzo, why are you lying on me? Tell them the truth. You were the one who was trying to rape me, not the other way around," she said, trying to defend herself. But the king immediately shut her up. "How dare you try to accuse the prince of Ugumadi kingdom? What an effrontery. May the gods of our land strike that your filthy mouth there," the king said, and the elders immediately supported him. "Who knows if the child you are carrying in your stomach is even our late Prince Odinaka's child? Since it's now so obvious that you've been sleeping all around with different men," one of the elders thundered, and Ogechi immediately opened her mouth crying, "Ah, my elders, my king, I will never something like that. Odinaka is the only man I have ever been with," she cried. "Will you shut up that dirty, smelly mouth and lying mouth of yours?" The queen, who has been silent all along on her seat, immediately stood up angrily. "I forbid my late son's name from that abominable mouth of yours," she thundered. "Listen to me. Tomorrow is the final day. You will be swearing before the gods of our land. All your true colors will be opened like an open field before the whole village. This meeting is over," the king angrily said and walked out, flying his robe as he walked away. The elders and every other person that stood there began murmuring and spitting on the ground as they left. Ogechi sat on the ground crying her eyes out. Why was the world so unfair? Why was everything so unfair? Why wasn't everything working for her good? Why was she moving from fire to frying pan? She thought as she cried. The following day, Ogechi opened her eyes looking gloomy and sad. She couldn't believe all throughout the night she was having series of nightmares and different kinds of dreams about her swearing to the gods of the land. She even saw Odinaka in her dream, and he asked her not to worry, that he is always with her. It was as if those words she heard from Odinaka had built up something she couldn't explain in herself. She couldn't wait for the swearing, so she could swear to whatever they would ask her to, and finally prove her innocence to everyone. Sometimes she would sit down and reminisce on everything that had happened to her. Why was everything so bad and different? Why were different hands pointing at her with different accusations? It's just something she couldn't explain or decipher. Were they all a coincidence or what? She stood up from her position and immediately took her bath. After she was done, she walked out of her room. She walked out of her room and saw Princess Mirabel walking past her door. She immediately greeted her by bowing and bending her knees, but she didn't reply and just hissed and walked past her. Then she came back again. "I can't wait for your swearing time, so that the whole world will know the kind of person you are," she said, pointing a finger at her, and finally walking out. Ogechi just shook her head and went into the bathroom. She picked a rag and started joining other maids in cleaning and dusting. While cleaning, she was told that it was her turn to clean Prince Chibuzo's room. "Why is it always my turn every time, eh?" she murmured under her breath and slowly knocked on Prince Chibuzo's room. "Come in," he said from the room. She opened the door and walked into the room. Prince Chibuzo looked at her and gave out a smile. "What took you so long? Or were you probably thinking about—" He stopped and Ogechi shifted backward in fear. "Don't you even dare come close to me, Prince Chibuzo," she warned, looking for what she would hold and just smash it on his head at that moment, but nothing actually came to her head at that moment. "You are here shifting backward. Do you think I'm going to hurt you?" I am not a bad person. Or do you want to tell the whole world that the Prince of Ogumadi wants to hurt you?" he asked, and Ogechi looked at him angrily. How could you? How could you, my prince? How could you lie against me to the people? Why are you so wicked? I'm your late brother's wife and I am pregnant. At least, if you will not have compassion on me, at least show it to your late brother who is in the grave and his baby who is in my stomach. I am begging you, don't come close to me again in your life, she said, and he laughed. Oh, please, you're not even my type. And besides, I did not lie. Are you not a rapist? Didn't you try to rape me? How is that possible? How could I possibly do that? How can a woman rape a man? Doesn't that sound absurd? Does that even happen these days? She asked. Oh, you are throwing questions back at me, right? Anyways, that thing in your stomach is not my brother's child. I am sure of it. You are obviously a whore. That's why everyone couldn't help but believe me immediately. That's what we call power, he said and looked at her. Ogechi looked at him angrily. Prince Chibuzo, you're a very wicked person. You behave like a good prince, but deep down you are a beast in human form. I pray that wherever all this soul is right now, he will punish you forever till you die. She cursed, and Prince Chibuzo immediately laughed, looking at her. He stood up and started walking with a smile towards where she stood. You know one thing I like about you? Your confidence and your bravery. Even when you are suffering, it makes my heart beat more for you. You could just say yes to me, then trust me, baby girl. All your problems will be over, he said, running his hand through her face. Don't you dare touch me, Ogechi said angrily, hitting his hands away from her. She tried opening the door to run away, but he immediately grabbed her and carried her to the bed. Leave me alone, she screamed on top of her lungs. Prince Chibuzo laughed. If you like, scream from now till tomorrow. Nobody is gonna hear because my room is soundproof. So no one will hear your scream there, he said lustfully, caressing her face, then bent down to soothe her neck. No matter how Ogechi continued to hit and punch him, he never relented, but continued to have his way. While he was still on her, Ogechi saw something like a metal from afar, and at that point, the only thing that came to her mind was to do what was in her mind. She stretched her arm to grab it and she hit him with the metal-like thing and immediately ran out of the room. Ah! Prince Chibuzo screamed, holding his head as blood started dripping down endlessly. He walked out of the room and the palace guard immediately held him before he fell on the ground. My prince, wake up. The voice of the palace guard made the king, the queen and all the princesses, likewise the maids, run out of their places to the shocking and horrifying scene in front of them. The prince was on the ground with blood flowing all over the floor. What happened to my son? Who did this to my son? She cried. Call the royal ambulance immediately, the king ordered, and a few minutes later, the ambulance siren could be heard from outside as they drove in. Prince Chibuzo was immediately carried and hurried outside to the waiting ambulance. After placing him inside, the ambulance drove away. The queen was crying and rolling on the floor. Who would have done this to my son? Who did this to my son? She cried. On the other hand, Ogechi was in her room, panting and walking to and fro. Her heart was drumming so hard that it could explode any moment. She was so scared. Hey God, oh, what have I done? What have I done? What if he dies? What if something bad happens to Prince Chubuzo? Ah, Ogechi, you are finished. You should have been more careful now. Why did you have to hit him? Ah, God, oh. She placed her two hands on her head as she panicked and sat down on the bed. Fear gripped her so much that she couldn't even step her feet outside of her room. How will she face everyone? How will she look them in the face and explain to them that it wasn't intentional? Every single thing was just moving from frying pan to fire. What kind of thing is this one now? Prince Chubuzo, why can't you keep your thing to yourself? Now look at where it has landed you. Look at what you've done to yourself. Ah God, she panted and stood up, then sat down again. Few days later, the prince was back to his feet, and the day he returned from the hospital, the whole palace was so overjoyed. The queen was the most happiest to see him come back, though there were plasters everywhere on his head. He angrily walked into the palace and started searching everywhere. Where is Ogechi? He thundered in a huge rage. Everyone was so surprised to see him react that way. My son, what is the problem? Why are you so angry? And asked after Ogechi. The queen asked, wait, don't tell me it's what I'm thinking. She stopped halfway. At that point, Ogechi slowly walked out from her room to the parlor. Everyone turned to look at her and back at the prince. She's the one. She's the one that did this to me. She wanted to kill me because I exposed her to the village, he said, and everyone shouted in shock. No, my king, my queen, it's not what you think. It's not like that. Ogechi tried to explain, but she couldn't find the right word to use. So, Ogechi, you have the right. You have the effrontery. You have the uttermost right to try to kill my son. After killing my Odinaka, you tried to kill the other one? What wrong did I ever do to you that you have to repay me like this? So you were sent. You came into my family to kill, to steal and to destroy. Ah, the queen lamented in shock. Ogechi immediately went down on her knees. My king, my queen, please, it's not oh, she cried. Because of what happened to the prince that day, I shifted your swearing day until the prince is back to his feet. And now that he is back, your swearing has been fixed again. In 3 days' time, I am tired of your nonsense and evil attitude in my palace. I can't wait to see you have a taste of your own medicine. I can't wait to see how the gods will deal with you mercilessly, the king said, and angrily walked away. Everyone walked out of the palace, remaining Princess Melody. Princess Melody slowly walked down to where Ogechi sat on the ground and placed her hand on her shoulders. Don't worry, dear. Everything is going to be fine, okay? I believe you are innocent, so you don't have to worry about anything. The gods shall vindicate you, okay? I can't wait for your swearing-in day, so that the truth will finally come out that you are innocent. I can't wait for that day, she said with a smile, and Ogechi immediately hugged her. Thank you so much, Princess Melody. Sincerely, I don't really know what would have happened if I didn't have someone like you in this palace. You are the only one that believed in my innocence. Thank you so much. Not everyone is like you, she said, and Princess Melody immediately hugged her, releasing a smirk. It's fine. It's nothing, she said, stroking her hair. 3 days later, the swearing day of Ogechi finally arrived, and the villagers were all present outside the king's palace. No one will want to miss such an interesting and important sight. Every villager in Umudin Kingdom wanted to witness what they've all been waiting for. They were expectant. They were negatively excited. Everybody had what they all wanted the outcome to be, and they couldn't mind leaving their husbands, wives and children to behold such a great sight. The king, the queen and the princesses were all standing at the frontage of the palace. Prince Chubuzo stood with his hand folded on his chest. Ogechi was in the middle. She was dressed in a white garment. She was barefooted and a calabash placed on her head while she knelt down. Everyone waited for the chief priest until he arrived. An old man with a brown cloth tied around his shoulder down to his knees. His 2 ears and neck were adorned with white cowries. There was a whitish circle drawn around his left eyes with the aid of a chalk. "My king, my queen," he turned to the king and greeted them. "You are welcome, eyes of the gods," the king answered, and he turned almost immediately back to Ogechi, who was still on the ground. "Young lady, before we go on with the swearing, we are going to be asking you some questions again. Did you kill Prince Odinaka or not?" the chief priest asked, and Ogechi placed a confident look on her face. "I did not kill Prince Odinaka," she said. The chief priest looked at her and shook his head. "Young lady, let me remind you that you are standing before the gods of our land. Our gods do not have mercy on anyone who lies before him. He's just and fair and doesn't pity anyone even though you are pregnant. The wrath of the gods are very strong, like a mighty wind. Now, I ask you the same question again. Did you kill Prince Odinaka or not?" he asked, and Ogechi immediately shook her head. "I did not kill my late husband, Prince Odinaka. I will never do anything like that," she confidently said, and the chief priest nodded and picked up the old-looking staff and stretched it to her. "Take this staff and repeat after me," he said, and she collected the staff. "I, put your name. If I ever had a hand in the death of the crown prince, Prince Odinaka, let the gods strike me down. But if I did not have anything to do with it, let me go scot-free and let the culprits be punished," the chief priest said, and Ogechi held the staff and closed her eyes. Taking a deep breath for a while, she opened her eyes. "I, Ogechi, if I ever had a hand in the death of the late crown prince, Prince Odinaka, let the gods strike me right now. But if I did not have anything to do with it, let me go scot-free and let the real culprits be punished," she said, and dropped the staff. What do you think will be the outcome of the swear? Do you think Ogechi killed Odinaka? If not, then who killed Odinaka? Please let me know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so that you won't miss any of our interesting stories. Bye.